Hey team, welcome to the third live Facebook event for Kununyi Mountain Run for 2025. We've got an exciting topic tonight. We're going to talk to some people, some amazing runners within Hobart about what it means to get out on the trails as a beginner. How do we get amongst it? How do we choose the gear? What are our fears that keep us back from getting out on the trails? I have some awesome guests with me tonight, and I'll introduce them in just a few seconds. But a reminder that this Saturday, International Women's Day, there is an International Women's Day run happening from the Cascade Brewery Bar at 8:30 on Saturday morning. There are 200 plus participants already signed up for that. So if you haven't done so, make sure you get yourself onto that because it's going to be an epic event. And then there's going to be some forums afterwards talking about women in running and what it means to be a runner on International Women's Day. So please remember that this Saturday, 8:30 from the Cascade Gardens Bar. Now, with me tonight, I have three exceptional women who are going to talk about the experience of getting into trail running, as well as some road running talk from one of our guests. But we will have it with us tonight, Hannah O'Neill. She is one of our scholarship team for 2025 with KMR. She's going to take on the 25K mountain run for the first time this year. And would you believe it, Hannah, just over 3 weeks. We are not that far away from go time. She runs with the inspiration of her mum behind her. She started running about a year ago and started hitting the trails, would you believe it, November last year. So welcome, Hannah. It's lovely to have you with us. We also have Chloe McCann. She is the co-founder of the Hobart Run Club, born out of running by herself along the roads of Sandy Bay and needed a little bit of safety. So she and her co-founder decided to make a run club up, and the 25 people turned up the first week to go for a run with the Hobart Run Club. They were seeking connection and also a bit of safety out there on the roads, and they are a thriving run club with us here in Hobart. She's a trail running novice. She's done the Tolosa Quarter with us at Kununyi Trail Series, and hopefully by the end of this tonight, we will have convinced her to maybe come and join us for KMR in a few short weeks. And our third guest tonight is Keely Cooper. She is the person to see when it comes to Her Trails, which is a national running club for women. They get out there on the trails as a safe group, because one of those things when it comes to women being out on the road and our trails is safety. So they're a national run club. It's a safe space for women. She is running in KMR and taking on the brand new Alpine Marathon, which is a massive, massive effort that is going to be, it's an insane run. It's going to be crazy. We'll probably focus tonight on what most of our first-time trails runners do, which will be the Sunday run, the 9K foothills. It's probably where most of our novice runners are going to start their running journey with us when it comes to trails, but we're also going to talk about a bit about those longer events. Where do we start when we're talking about what it takes to get into training, to trails? Let's talk about what got these people in the trails. Hannah, let's start with you. KMR scholarship recipient, you're part of the team for this year. What got you into the trails, mate?
I guess for me it was I've always enjoyed hiking, and I really wanted to start working on my fitness. But when I am hiking, mostly day hiking, that is, I found that I was the one trekking ahead and everyone's like, can you just take it in and enjoy it? Whereas I'm a time-conscious person that was trying to speed my way through. And so when I saw the scholarship advertised, I thought, this is an opportunity to learn from the best. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And you've obviously done a little bit of road running before that, not a lot before jumping onto trails and going, let's go and try it up on the wilds of Tasmania and Kununyi.
Yeah, that's it. I probably only started running, about a year ago. I just started doing some park runs and trained up just to run the bridge. And so that was my first 10K. And from there, I kind of got the bug for it and did the Ross Running Festival as well. And from there, just kept thinking maybe I could try more next time. So it's all very new still.
And that's often the way people get into it, isn't it? Do those friends who used to walk with you, have they joined you to come running, or have they left you to go get amongst it by yourself?
By myself. Yeah, by myself. I've got some friends that want to get into running, so it's nice to inspire people, I guess, that because I came from the mindset of I can't do this. There's just no way. So it's nice for other people to see that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll get into a bit on that mindset later on because it is a big one amongst the runners, whether you be on roads or trails, of the whole, I can't do this. This is beyond me. You must have had a little bit of that starting on the roads, Chloe, and when you were getting out there with the start of the Hobart Run Club, which has obviously been born out of, as we said, that safety aspect. But what got you into being a runner and how long have you been doing it?
So funny you should say that. So growing up, I was the most anti-running runner. Like I would skip PE, I would skip cross country, or no, that's a lie. I would do it for the house point, and I'd walk and give everyone the finger as I went past. I was not there for a good time. And then I guess I got the running bug probably just over 2 years ago. And I guess how I fell into doing the Toulouse Quarter was because I did Run the Bridge was my first 5K. I was like, I can't believe I've done this. I've made it in life. And then I signed up for everything. And I saw that there was this Toulouse Quarter thing. And I was like, great, it's a running race. I'm there. And it was my hyperfixation and I just did everything. So I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny. It's almost a rite of passage in Hobart to have Run the Bridge be your first fun run. And of course, it was last weekend, and I'm sure there's lots of people there that themselves were going, right, this is it. I'm going to start with Run the Bridge because it's a pretty cool run, and I get to run across the bridge by myself, which is always awesome. And Keely, Her Trails. Did you start on trails? Is trails always been a passion, and Her Trails followed that, or was this something you fell into after running a bit of road stuff?
Her Trails actually reignited my love for getting outside and moving a bit quicker. My background's actually outdoor education and guiding, but 2 years ago, I bought a gym. So I was spending a lot more time inside than I'm used to. And I was feeling the call to get back into nature, but spending heaps of time out in the bush became less of an easy, accessible thing for me. So I needed to move a little bit quicker. I never identified as a runner, but I thought, well, this is probably an efficient way to get outside and enjoy my time while I'm out there. So I actually started running last year in January, and Her Trails was just my way to get back into spending more time in nature and building up my fitness to be able to move a little bit quicker than hiking most of the time.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, I guess, with when you start running, and I started my running journey in 2019, and the road was easy. The roads were simple. They were always there. They were just outside the front door. It takes a little bit more for us to go, you know what, I'm going to go up on that hill and run it, because there's that thought process within trail running that a majority of it is going uphill. I'm going to throw to you first, Hannah. How do you get your mind around those thought processes in the mind of going, hang on, if I'm running trails, then a majority of this is going to be hard work going uphill?
The mindset's still a work in progress for me. We did a training run 4K mile 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it humbled me. I think because of all the training I have been having with uphill and the strengthening, I thought I'd achieve it a little faster, but instead I kind of got in my head. So it's a work in progress, but definitely just remembering while you're there. And for me, it's not necessarily to compete, it's for myself. So I just kind of had to sit in the environment and think, okay, I'm lagging behind. I'm I'm at the back of the pack, but I'm still doing it because I enjoy it. And maybe I'm taking in too much around me, but yeah, I guess there's a huge mental block there as soon as I realize maybe I'm not quite strong enough to get up there as fast as I want to.
Well, if you listen to our run director, Lincoln, he'll often tell you that the best kept secret in trail running is you don't have to run up the hills.
Yes.
So that is always one to keep in mind. It reminds everyone of that every year. And obviously, getting out there in nature is awesome. It's different to running on the side of the road where there's cars and people and bikes and, in your case, Chloe, people yelling at you and that sort of stuff. So, Keely, when it comes to being out on the trails, are there concerns that come with that? Obviously, it's beautiful nature, but there must also be concerns that you have when you're out on the trails, whether it be from external or even just yourself, the tripping, the falling, the being caught out there with an injury.
Yeah, I think it comes down to your personal experience as well. Like how familiar are you in natural spaces, and exposure is everything. So you don't have to go straight out there and go into the middle of nowhere if you have no concept of exposure to roots, rocks, or what do I need in a first aid kit? If that all feels overwhelming, exposing yourself to trails that are accessible, that you can get in and out of fairly easily, that you are confident in your navigation, that's a really good place to start. And I can be like that too of, well, clearly I'm doing the Alpine Marathon. I'm like, oh, just give it a go. But you also want to make sure that you actually have baseline skill set, or are open to learning those baseline skill sets and then progress from there. We don't have to go from 0 to 100. We can work our way up from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And obviously KMR has its different distances which cater for that as well, which is fantastic. So Chloe, your guys predominantly run on the road. They're out there pounding the pavement. What do you think it'll take to get them into an event like, say, the 9K foothills, to go, let's get out of our comfort zone and go out and try something different like trail running, which is a different sport to road running?
I think a lot of our folks would be really keen to get on the trails, and often we will head along to like the knockoffs once a month trail runs, or we try and get a little bit naturey. Mainly we're based in the city, but we try and get out to see some sort of nature and away from the traffic lights just to get a smoother run in. And everyone always says, "Oh, that route was really good," when we managed to do that. So we're really excited to kind of shimmy people a little bit towards the KMR events and the Trail Series events this year. It'll be really exciting. I think one thing that will stump our runners a bit, they're all huge on their Strava, huge on their PBs, huge on comparing their gap analysis and all of those various stats, which I love too. I'm a bit of a data nerd, but I think when some of them take a breath and let that go and just have a good time and enjoy being out there, that's going to be really transformational for some of our runners. So I'm really excited to be able to sort of, help people have that experience.
Yeah, it's a good point you make about the Strava and the Garmin and all those, devices we take. Yeah, we're all wearing them. Like this is a brand new one for me. It hasn't been for a run yet, which is very disappointed. It keeps telling me to move almost every day. Apparently, I'm detraining at the moment. But it's one of those things with that mindset. If you go from Strava runs where I'm out on the road and I'm doing 4-minute 30Ks and I'm absolutely smashing it, to suddenly I'm on the trails and I'm back to 6-minute 7-minute Ks, but I'm finding it harder than I ever did on the road. How do we get through that as a runner?
I think that was a huge thing, and I'll be the first to say, like when I did the Tolosa, and Lincoln did the same spiel about the best trail runners also walk, and then I got to a stage in that Tolosa that I was like, I'm a good runner, but I've got to walk. And it was a real ego thing for me, because I was like, it's only 11Ks. I shouldn't have to walk. And then when I finished, a mate of mine had actually won the event, and he's like, "Mate, I walked some of it." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not terrible." The winner walked. And it's a real exercise, I think, that I learned in that event, but also then for my life, that was like, A, no one cares, and B, how about you listen to people, Chloe?
It's interesting, and I'll throw some of my experience in here with, because I've done both. I've done road and trail running, and I used to be really scared of road running, thinking that people in their cars were, looking at me and going, "Oh my gosh, what's that bloke doing running?" And you've got to get your mindset to the fact that, get the tickets off yourself. No one's even looking at you. They don't care. And that's what it's like out on the trails. You're out there with nature, and it's really good to just be out there not caring. And you're right. We can walk up the hills, and most people do. I've done the Tolosa half, and I think I started walking at that first gate. just as you go to the start of the hill, because I wasn't very prepared. But it's interesting that you talk about that and the community, like you've talked about how the run clubs all come together. And I'll come to you on this one, Keely, the community of running. How have you found that, and the community of trail running in particular? It seems the events I do, which, you know, trail running and running events, it's a real community. No one cares about your time. They just care that you got it done and you're out there doing it.
Yeah, I've made some of my best friends and connections in Hobart. I've lived here 5 years now, and just simply from starting running, I've actually I see these people so frequently, like every week, you know, hey, do you want to go for a long run? And then every fortnight with the run group, meeting up at the same spot and the same time. We do events together, which has been really incredible. But even people I don't know, when you're just walking up the hill and nailing a 14-kilometer-per-hour pace, you get to chat to the people that are next to you. So I've had some really amazing conversations out on the trail, or, you know, if I've dropped something, someone lets me know. Everyone's just more open to have conversations, give a helping hand. If you have a question, if you're standing there looking a little bit lost, people actually come up to you and support you, which is really special. I don't think I've really experienced that in any other community.
Yeah, I'd agree. And it's such a simple format of getting into a community, because all you need is a pair of shoes, shorts, and a top. And you're out there, you're doing it. You're the same as everyone else. Hannah, you must have found that running for a year on a trails from November. We've left the walkers behind because they're sick of really fast. Hannah, you must have made some amazing friendships out there on the trails, and as you've been preparing for KMR.
Yeah, definitely. I tried to go along on the Wednesday nights to the Hobart Trail Runners. It took me a while to I'm not the most outgoing person at meeting people, so it took me a while to put myself out there, because there are a lot of families and groups that have gone every Wednesday forever. But I kind of just thought, no, I'm going to have to break the seal here and just start introducing myself to people on those Wednesday nights. And when you tell them, like when I tell them, explain the scholarship, they're really supportive. I've found really good networks, even just down at Find Your Feet. The staff there have been really helpful, trying to help me out, just with little tiny tips. I bug them with everything. And my scholarship team, we talk every single day, the whole team. So there's just a wealth of support, even just all my family and friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is so much of a community. And as I said earlier on, like no one cares about your time. They're all just happy that you've gone out and got it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for those of us listening on and watching this at home, if you do have any questions for these guys about getting into running, how they found it getting out on the trails and beginning their journey as trail runners, because I've now nominated you all as official trail runners. Sorry, Chloe, the roads are gone. You're now out with us in the bush. Put them up in the comments section, and we will ask the girls and the ladies what their thoughts are about any questions you may have. Now, obviously, we are about to hit Kunani. We're going to run with Kunani. It's a pretty epic mountain. Are there any fears about the hills and how we're going to encounter them as a beginner? Because I found when I was beginning in trails, I stumbled, I fell, I spent most of my time tripping over. Keely, how do we counter that when we're on the trails of not having that, fear of falling over all the time?
Honestly, just embrace a pace that feels good for you. And if that's walking, then that's what we do. So with my Her Trails group, currently we're doing the foothills as our fortnightly meetup and our training run. And we're walking, but we're walking with pace and with purpose and getting the heart rate up and breathing. So we're kind of exposing ourselves to that slight discomfort, but it's still something that we can maintain and manage for that duration of time. And it can be a huge mental barrier for a lot of people. We tend to beat ourselves up or be really hard on ourselves for not meeting these expectations, which who knows where they come from, or we might be comparing ourselves to other people. But if you need to walk and walk with purpose, and use it as a way to practice fueling or hydrating or having a chat and checking your mindset. And if you're saying some negative things about yourself, flip it and just remember that it's all about having fun. So what goes up must come down. So keep that in mind too. But yeah, you just practice the roots, the rocks, walking at a higher pace, I guess, and then slowly you could do a run walk as well. So you might not be able to run the whole thing, but you might be able to run 30 seconds and then walk 30 seconds, or run a minute, walk a minute, and build that up from there.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And Chloe, I'd be interested to get your take on this, having been a predominantly road runner. You've obviously done the Salosa Quarter, and I get the impression that you may not have had too much of an idea of what that involved before you took it on. Is there any fear about the uneven terrain when you are running off the road?
Look, I'm fearful running on the road as well because I'm accident prone. So I'm just generally fearful. But yeah, definitely more with the uneven rocks and roots and trees and things. But I think I kind of I just embraced the fact that I was going to fall over, and made sure to try and fall back on my butt and not forward onto my arms and break them. So it did happen, but I still had a great time, and I had epic battle scars afterwards. So yeah, it was and nothing crazy. Like I was expecting to break both my legs, to be honest with you, when I once I saw the sort of, I mean, it's not a particularly, like, compared to some trails, but I'm just really accident prone. But I had a great time and only a couple of scuffed knees and hands. So it was great. I had a good time.
Perfect. And there's a little bit of honour of joining the Claret Club. I do mention that a lot for runners coming across the line, those that have, joined the Claret Club and spilled a bit out there on course. And when we talk about, like, there's so many sports where there are massive barriers to getting into a sport. I'm going to throw this one at you, Hannah. Obviously, you take up triathlon, you got a bike and you've got this and that and the other. With trail running, there's not a lot of gear needed to go out there and get amongst it. So what are you running as a novice runner? What do you think are the most important things for our beginners to go, hey, I could do with this to go and, start my running journey?
Definitely shoes. That was the biggest thing for me. I was still in, I guess, my road runners for a while there. Until, you're just sliding down those muddy hills. You're not gripping onto anything. So as soon as I got hooked up with some decent trail runners, I really felt the importance. Obviously, there's a huge contrast between the road running shoes and the trail running shoes. So I had to get used to not having that height and the sponginess and kind of going a bit more of a barefoot style almost. But I actually need that now because I like to be able to feel those surfaces and get an idea. But yeah, like you mentioned before, it really is. You just need a good pair of shoes, top and bottom. And if you're doing a long run, you've got to have, I guess, those little safety features like your snake bandages and your vest and whistle.
Yeah, they're pretty important out there. And look, obviously, shout out to the great supporters of Kearney Mountain Run in Salomon and Find Your Feet. And if you are looking for that gear, go and see those guys. They know everything in there. Keely, getting into ourselves at Her Trails, are we just literally shoes, shorts and a top and off we go? Is there anything else you like your guys to have when they're getting out there in trails so they're safe out there in what can be pretty wild terrain?
We have all sorts of kind of backgrounds that come into the group. So some individuals will have shoes and at least a vest, which is a good place to start. But also if that feels like an investment, or you're not really sure if that's something that, I want to give it a go, but I don't know if it's something I'm really going to commit to, then shoes and tops and bottom, great place to start. And then having pockets for at least some sort of gear. So like leggings or shorts or things like that. With Her Trails, I always have a first aid kit, and I also have somebody else, another Maven, who helps me, Elise. So she's at the back, I'm at the front, or vice versa, and we both have our safety kit. So that's really useful. So you don't need anything to run with us because we have all the safety gear. But if you want to go for long runs or your own epic adventures, having at least a belt that can carry some of that safety gear, a bit of food and water, and at least an extra layer is quite useful. But if you're just kind of not sure if that's something you're going to commit to in the long term and you don't want to invest straight away, then that's the handy part about running in a group, is that we've got the gear and the safety kit available.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And I think that's the same for most of our run clubs. They look after their members so well and make sure that there is safety taken care of at every step. They've obviously got your run leaders and your people at the back of the pack making sure everyone gets home safe. And it's that sense of community as well. And talking about the running as a group, how do you feel about running alone as compared to a group? Do you find when it comes to trail running, some of us love to just get up there and go, bang, I'm out here by myself. It's me, it's the trees, it's the wallabies and nature. Or do you prefer to have it as that group run? And I'll throw to you on that one, Keely, to start.
I love a bit of both. I love to explore and wander and just see where I end up. But I also find that running with other people is it's very holistic, and you get to have amazing conversations and sometimes go somewhere that you didn't expect because you're chatting and you missed the turnoff, but you ended up somewhere a lot better than you would have been before. And sometimes running on your own, you can kind of stick to a schedule or be a little bit more rigid. Whereas with running with other people, you can be a bit more fluid and go with the flow and make decisions kind of as you go and as the group sees fit. If you need to turn around, you turn around. You're just a bit more fluid about it. Or sometimes when you run on your own, you can maybe view that as a bad thing if you had to turn around early or something like that. But with a group, it just feels like it's the right thing to do. So just takes the pressure off.
Yeah, for sure. I always struggle. I'm a bit of a loan shark when it comes to running because, and I'd like to get your view on this, Chloe, because you run predominantly with people and in groups. I always feel like I'm going to be the slow one. I feel like I'm going to be the one holding everyone up. How do we get through that? And I can see Hannah shaking her head there. Like I won't even run with some of my mates because it's like I don't want to slow you up because I think you're going to be much faster than me. How do we get through that, Chloe, to make sure that everyone's feeling, look, I'm comfortable running with these people who are at all different levels to what I'm at?
Yeah, for sure. So when I first started running, I was like, there is no way I'm going to run club. I only want to run on my own because I'm slow, and I like that guilt of, I think, so people are going to have to, their training's going to suffer because they have to slow down to go with me. And also the other side, knowing that I'm very competitive and I'm like, I'm going to injure myself because I'm going to put my body on the line to beat this person in a, 3K leisurely run along Sandy Bay Road. So, really reasonable train of thoughts there. And then I started going to other run clubs, and I was like, this is epic. Like, you mean I get to talk, my favorite thing, and run. So I reckon now I probably run on my own once every 2 to 4 weeks. And the rest of all my training is done at run clubs. I just sort of hop every day, or not every day, probably 5 days a week. I've managed to find some other poor sods to run with me, whether it's my run club or another one. But yeah, I love the feeling of community that comes with running. I think it's one of those things, like when you're running with a group, that you sort of get into it and then you're like, oh, I've just done 15Ks or 3Ks or whatever it is for the day. And it kind of just gets away from you, which I really like because it feels slightly less painful.
Yeah, okay. It's an interesting way of looking at it. And I'm going to see if you might know the answer to this one, Hannah, or how you feel about it just after the nod of your head there. I've tried running with run clubs, and it's the fear of someone talking to me while I'm trying not to die. That's what gets me. It's like you might want to chat here, buddy, but I'm just trying to survive this. How have you found that, Hannah, if you've done any group running, which you probably have with the KMR guys and part of the scholarship? How do you find that? I feel rude if I'm saying to someone, hey, I don't want to talk right now. I just want to be out here by myself.
Yeah, look, it's a bit of, at the risk of sounding antisocial, I'm a bit like you in that I do probably enjoy being by myself more for runs, or I guess more for the training side of it. So because I've got my training schedule, I'd rather do that by myself than have someone that I've kind of got to either slow down for or entertain. And then sometimes if I'm training around Taroona here on the trails, I'll pump my music and I'll be in my own zone. But then I'm easing into the social aspect of the running as well to make those connections. I don't mind having those conversations when I run, but yeah, there's this imposter syndrome, like constantly thinking, I'm always saying, oh, you don't have to slow down for me. You don't have to slow down for me, because I am, I don't have a fast pace, which is why I'm enjoying trail running, because there's not that expectation. Because no matter how much I've worked for a fast pace with road running, I'm just too intimidated, I guess, to join the road running clubs, knowing how slow I am. Which I'm probably not as slow as I'm making myself sound, but yeah.
No, I know the feeling very, very well. I'm going to jump us over to the KMR events for our beginners. And obviously, we've got Keely doing the marathon, Hannah in the 25K, and Chloe, I'm signing you up for the 9. It's in the books. We're going to do it there. So let's say right now you're all doing those events. I'm going to go around the circle, starting from the shortest distance to the longest distance. Chloe, what are we most fearful of as a beginner with a 9K event, and what are we most excited about in doing it?
Oh, good question. Most excited about, I think, just getting out there in the nature, the fresh air. And I also think, like, my experience doing the Tolosa was that everyone was really friendly, and I just made friends everywhere. Like, the people on the barbecue were really nice. They're like, everyone around was just, I felt like I made 100 friends that day, even though I was so nervous because it was my first time sort of breaking into it was like me and a friend, and we were just like, we don't know any of these people. But everyone was so friendly. And I think that kind of doubles as well. Like, the most fearful thing was, as I kind of said, we'd signed up for the trail like a day or two before, being like, yeah, we can run 11K, so how bad can it be? And then we got there and we were like, oh, it can be really different. It can be really different, actually. And we had a great time, but I don't think we hadn't even Googled what is trail running. We just rocked up in our Bondi 8s, and, no gear, no vest, no nothing. We were just, it was, we were really freeballing it there. But I think that's probably the fear, is like, not necessarily when you sign up, that's the fear, but when you get there, you're like, oh my God, I don't see anyone I recognize. And this looks really different to run the bridge.
Yeah, it's certainly a different vibe when you're out there and looking up at Kunani and the epic landscape you're about to go into. It's a little bit different to the concrete pavement heading across the bridge. Before I jump to you with the same questions, Hannah, Sarah Austin has just asked us, will we be recording this to view at other times? Yes, we absolutely are, Sarah. It will go up on the KMR page later on this evening. So if you do miss any of it, or you want to go back and have a listen to what our fantastic guests are saying today, you can, of course, jump back into this Facebook Live or any of the others we've done as well, where we talk about training and the scholarships and everything that has to do with KMR and trail running. So, Hannah, 25Ks is on the way. It's 23 days until I see you on a start line at about 7 a.m. in the morning. Picture yourself in our run hub. You've been through the smoking ceremonies and all the cultural stuff that comes with KMR, because we're not just a running festival. We are all about being at one with the mountain. What's the most exciting thing going to be going through Hannah O'Neill's head at that time? And what's that one big fear that's going to be having, bouncing around there, that voice going, I can't do this. I'm not good enough.
Yeah, the most exciting part is definitely the downhill for me. That's when I'm in my absolute element. So there definitely is, like Keely mentioned before, what goes up must come down. But the best, most beautiful, exciting part of it is, being on Kunani, and especially just getting up to the organ pipes along there and having those views. The views really is the most exciting part. The scariest part, now that I've done the training run, is that last slog. So from Waterworks back to the run hub, that last bit, I'm going to need every single bit of internal motivation I can get for that one, and hopefully a few friends along the way to motivate me as well, because I don't like that. I didn't like that bit.
Yeah, not many people do. Lincoln's one of those run directors who likes to start you uphill and then somehow manage to finish
Finish you uphill, yeah.
you uphill a little bit as well. It's yeah, we might have to have a word to him about that. And Keely, obviously, you're taking on the brand new Alpine Marathon, which has been a huge hit. It's sold out. It's a full capacity field for the Alpine Marathon. The same question for you. New event. I don't know what's your longest distance before you've run this one, but what are the fears going through, and what's the excitement about your time that you're about to spend on Kunani?
Well, fears, I could probably list quite a few. But luckily, the exciting bit is like part of the fear. Like I'm stretching myself. I've never done an event of this distance before. I've done 150K. I did the 3 capes with some friends over Christmas, but those huts are very fancy and we had nice long stops at our aid station. So this is a very different pace, very different atmosphere. So I guess the biggest fear would be probably most people's in terms of, how long will this take me? And am I going to be last? I've never gone that elevation in that sort of distance. How are my legs going to pull up? All of those things. But at the end of the day, I also know that that's where I want to be. I want to be challenging myself and it's exciting. Like that's what makes me want to do it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so is the goal just to get it finished, or do you have a time in mind?
I don't even know what the time would be. And my goal is just to go out there and to keep my spirits high and to eat well, drink well, maintain a fairly good mindset, have as much fun as I possibly can, and just soak it up and enjoy it. And yeah, if it gets hard, just remind myself that I chose this.
Yeah, well, that is a good point. You did choose to be out there. And what sort of distances are the Her Trails ladies doing on KMR? Are they across all the events, or?
So we have a mix. Most of our ladies are doing the foothills, and that's just been our main training ground. So that's really helped instill a lot of confidence to do their very first ever event. And most of our Her Trails gals do KMR or the trail series as their very first events, which is awesome and makes perfect sense because we train at most of the locations. And so that's most of them, but we do have a couple in the 25, and then we also have one doing the 25 walk as well, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And favorite running spots? I'm going to throw, and Chloe, you can give us a road running one if there's not a trail one. We'll allow it in this trail running talk. But Hannah, favorite running spot? You've only been doing trails since November. Where's your favorite spot to go and run around in Hobart?
I have a soft spot I'm just near Hinsby Beach in Taroona. So I have a soft spot for trolling down my hill and just following the Taroona foreshore trails, which if I want to stretch it, I can go up to Sandy Bay or I could head down to Kingston area. So definitely that area is my favorite. I think now it's sentimental. So from all the training.
That's very, very cool. It is an amazing spot. And there to go running. Chloe, hit us. If we're a beginner runner, where's the favourite spot to go and just get into this ridiculous caper that's called running?
Great question. I was going to say my favourite place to do trails at the moment is Alum Cliffs. I didn't know Alum Cliffs existed. I'm not from Hobart. And I also live in Sorrel, so it's very far from me. But when we did a knockoffs run there, I think they do them fairly regularly. But I went to one and I was like, how did I not know this epic, very challenging, but really amazing spot existed. And I just, I love it near the beach and there were lots of friendly people on the trails. So yeah, I really enjoy going along there. But I think for road running, anywhere that Hobart Run Club goes, can I say that? I really like the Infinity Loop up by the Domain. That's just like really nice, especially like in the afternoon when it's cooler with a bit of a breeze through there is really, really pleasant. Yeah. Yeah,
there's definitely some awesome runs up there. And I agree on Alum Cliffs. I did that with knockoffs. I think it was the Christmas run. Unfortunately, I took the doggo with me and he tried to trip me up the entire time. So He doesn't like walking, unfortunately. He loves to run a bit too much. And Keely, obviously, Her Trails would have some favourite trails around Hobart. What's your personal favourite for you, and where would you suggest that our beginners go and start their trail journey, apart from with Her Trails, obviously, on one of their runs? But where would they begin?
Look, as much as I love running on Kanani, I live on the Eastern Shore. And so this is just where I do majority of my training. But also I feel like there's a lot of underrated spots or maybe areas that people don't really know about. So Risdon Dam, most people would know, but there's lots of epic fire trails that surround the dam. So you can actually go for quite a fun explore and wander, but you don't really have to navigate. They're very clear fire trails. With a mix of up, down, a little bit of technical loose rock. So that's a really great place to just kind of have a wander. And I also love the Meehan Bike Park. So whether you're accessing that from Mornington or accessing that from Cambridge, that's really nice because it's smooth and make sure that you can hear mountain bikers because it is a pretty busy area, but you can share majority of the trails. And so that's a really great way to expose yourself to some technical terrain, but it's still smooth and, it's designed for bikes. So we'll be fine. And you can really play around with pacing and just have some fun out there.
Yeah, so some great tips there for all our beginners wanting to get out there and go for a run. Now, our 30-minute chat, as I promised you when we started this, is currently sitting at about 41 minutes. So we will look to bring it to an end. I feel like with you guys, I could probably talk all night and throw questions at you and you'd be happy to answer them. But I'm going to finish off on one here that I think is pretty important. Before I do, though, I will remind everyone this Saturday, the International Women's Day run. There are two distances in that. It's on the 8th, on Saturday the 8th. It's from 8:30 from Cascade Brewery Bar. Get along and join in that run. There will be some forums afterwards to listen to some great runners talk about their journey. So please make sure you get along to that. And of course, Kunanya Mountain Run. The event booklets are out today. So jump on those. If you haven't entered yet, like you, Chloe, make sure you get your entries in very soon. We are under 3 weeks away from Kunanya Mountain Run. Don't forget to check us out on the socials, on Instagram at Kunanya Mountain Run, and of course on Facebook. I'm going to throw to my guest tonight with a final question. And also feel free in this to let us know where we can find Her Trails and where we can find you on the social so that all the guys can follow you. Chloe, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to ask everyone, what's one piece of advice you'd give to someone beginning their running journey, whether it be the roads, whether it be trails? What's your one piece of advice for them?
Oh, gosh. Probably, yeah, just don't be limited by what other people tell you can and can't do. I think that was what held me back from running, and something that is so joyous in my life now for so long was worrying about what PE teachers and sports coaches told me what my body was built for, which was apparently not running because I'm a short queen. I like that time's gone, but I wish I'd found running so much earlier because it brings me so much joy now. So I guess, yeah, throw away those limiting beliefs and give things a crack. And you can always do more than you think.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. Sorry, I've just had to plug back in before my phone goes black here. That is really, really good advice to throw away the thoughts of anyone worrying about you, and you can do more than, what you believe. It just flicked up there on screen. At Chloe McCann and, of course, at Hobart Run Club. Check them out on the socials and make sure that you do give them a follow. Go and join them for a run at some point. They're a great group. Keely, I'm going to throw to you. I'm sure that we will get the Facebook up and the Instagram up for Her Trails, but what's your one piece of advice for all those beginners out there who are either thinking, this is too much for me, how do I get into it? What's the one thing that'll get them out there with you at Her Trails?
I think it's just keep it simple. So start where you're at, let yourself walk, let yourself pant and breathe, let yourself just say holy smokes, this is hard. All of that is part of it. So just keep it simple, show up, do what you need to do to get through each of those runs, and know that it's okay that if it's half a kilometer becomes 1 kilometer. So, just one day at a time, chip it away, and remember to have fun, keep it simple, have fun. all of those kind of cliches, but they really do make the biggest difference.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Keep it simple. It seems to be a motto for a lot of life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The Instagram did show up there for Her Trails, and for Keely, it is at her_trails. Make sure you give it a follow. Go and join the ladies for a run. They are a national organisation. They're right here in Hobart as well. All right, rookie, we're throwing to you. The newbie of the Pats, one of our scholarship recipients for 2025. What is your advice? You are right there. You are at the start of your trail running journey. What's the advice that you would give to people who are where you were a few short months ago, thinking, oh, trails running, that's not where I want to be? What's your advice to them to get amongst it?
I think to begin with, don't punish yourself. Stay off Strava maybe if you're like me and easily, I guess, demotivated, or like it's very easy to compare yourself even at the start to see where you think you should be based on 2 or 3 other friends that are running. You're not going to be there. So just remember why you're there. I think the scholarship team, we always go back to why we're doing this. So just always, 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 why are you doing this? If it's not for yourself, for other people, but you've got to be the one that motivates yourself in the end. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. That's absolutely brilliant advice from all of you. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you all with us tonight. We will call that to an end of beginners trail running. Hopefully we've motivated a few of you to get out there and try it, whether it be with Her Trails, Hobart Run Club, or just contact Hannah and go for a beginner's run up on the mountain. I'm sure she'll be more than happy to. That brings to an end of the series for our Facebook Lives for 2025. We are just over 3 weeks away from hitting the mountain for Running with Kunani. I am so looking forward to seeing everyone on the start line. I'm even more looking forward to welcoming you all home after your run with Kunani. Don't forget the International Women's Day run on the 8th. It is this Saturday, 8:30 from the Cascade Brewery Bar. Of course, the event booklet comes out today. There is still time to enter Kunani Mountain Run. I am @MannyTaz_MC. It's been lovely to have Keely Cooper, Hannah O'Neill, and Chloe McCann with me tonight. From all of us here at KMR and the Facebook Live event, we look forward to seeing you on the mountain. Thanks for joining us. Cheers, guys.